What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Tim and Shipe Show. We are part of the Press Play Podcast Network, and this episode of our podcast, and really every episode this season, is brought to you by two very special and very awesome sponsors. We have our first one is the Loft at Pex Hall. I stuttered there for a minute. The Loft at Pex Hall. This is a beautifully renovated 4,000 square foot hall, 4,000 square foot venue where you can have whatever you want up there. You can have the parties, holiday parties, vacation celebrations where your whole family gets together. What are those things where families all get together? Reunions. Yeah. Family reunions, whatever you want to do up there. It is a beautiful location. Catering can be taking place there. They have a list of caterers, that will just, really take it to that next level. Take this basic party and make it an excellent party. So check out the Loft at Pex Hall. Google them. The best place to book at those through Facebook. So check them out, the Loft at Pex Hall on Facebook, and book your next venue as soon as you can. Do not hesitate. Check them out, the Loft at Pex Hall on Facebook. Our next sponsor is a dear, wonderful friend of mine, and he is running Bella Freight these days. Bella Freight is awesome. They take loads. They take them. They drop loads wherever you want to go, all the way across to Ohio State. Not Ohio State. I've been talking about Ohio State for the last an hour or so. But, no, they'll take them from all across the country. You have a load that's heavy, drop it off somewhere else, wherever you want. If it's big, they can handle it. You can handle a big load. They can handle a big load. Just drop it wherever you want. It is Bella Freight. Big loads, small loads, take them across the United States of America. They got trucks waiting. Check them out. You can look at them up on Facebook as well. Bella Freight, we love you all so much. Thank you so much to our sponsors. You all are awesome, and we couldn't do this show without you. We love you both. Mwah! All right, let's get to the good stuff. Well, not that they're bad. I shouldn't say that. But let's get to the real reason you're here, the Tim and Shipe Show. Let's do it.
Could be up to the offensive line. No, Prince's going to throw for it. Got to get it off. They go for the ball game. Touchdown! Touchdown! Michael Jacobs! Holy Buckeye! Tebow straight ahead into the end zone, and the Gators have put this one on ice.
Hello, 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 and welcome to the Tim and Shipe Show. This is a college football podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. We are a part of the Press Play Podcast Network. Tim Jones is a Florida Gator fan. I am an Ohio State fan, and this is a college football podcast. Thank you so much for being a part of it, and we are really excited to talk about this week because there are so many good games coming up. Last week, we're getting into this a little late this week, so everything I was talked about throughout the week about last week's games have basically been said if you follow along college football landscape. But we're going to check in on that a little bit this week, but we're really going to be looking forward to the games coming up in just a couple days. If you're listening to this, it'll probably be tomorrow by the time the games are here. So we are just really looking forward to this week of games. But Tim, talk about the Florida Gators in their first week back. How'd it go? How'd it look? What were your thoughts? Were they slow, fat, and lazy like I thought they would be?
Shipe, I think we both know they were not at all what you had predicted. No, I mean, I think this is pretty much the best case scenario for the Gators where, you know, they had a few weeks off and they weren't even allowed to practice till Monday. So they had basically 2 full weeks of non-contact, non-practice, I guess maybe watching some film from a distance. I don't know. But the biggest thing clearly was the fact that defense stepped up. The defensive coordinator, the team as a whole made some changes. They were down, and you and I talked about this. They were down several. I think 3 of their starting secondary were out for this game. Ooh. So clearly that was not so much a bad thing in this situation. Yeah. With how badly they had played, but really, right. I think it was a combination of a lot of film opportunities and you know, just being motivated. The understanding was next man up situation. We've got to step up. We got to play. We got to play hard. We have to play well. No excuses. Wouldn't it be easy just to kind of pack it up and say, well, you know, we don't have our full team. We're not ready for this. We haven't even been able to practice. They didn't do that here. They came out, they played really strong. And the reality is they really didn't give up any real points until late in the game. Yeah. So I mean, their defense really came to play, and it's very encouraging for this team. And their offense did what they've done all year. Kyle Trask is legit, man. He is 18 touchdowns already this year. So very impressive. I mean, Kyle Pitts didn't do a ton. They acknowledged he has a foot injury. So Kyle Pitts hasn't been the player he was early in the season, but I still think that he has a lot to offer, and he's a great player. And Tony looks like the next Percy Harvin, coming out there and dodging people and breaking 5 tackles for a touchdown. Like, he just looks amazing.
Yeah,
so it gives a lot to be excited about. Now we got Georgia coming up this weekend, and obviously it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So 3 years in a row we've lost to Georgia. This is the I think the most competitive week we've had against Georgia in a while, where, you know, for the first time I think in several seasons I actually really not only believe that we can beat Georgia, but I think we should.
Yeah, I want it to happen. Georgia has all the talent in the world, but for some reason they can't put it together on the field. So I'm rooting for Florida. I want to see them do well, even though you don't really root for Ohio State. But I am a better friend, and so I really want Florida to do well. I root for them because you're my friend, and I want to see them do well. So good luck to Florida this week. I'm pulling for them. They're not favored though, but I think it has a lot to do with their defense. And so if you're saying that they stepped up this last week, hopefully that'll carry over to the next one.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I'm just curious to see where this is coming from. You know, my understanding is one starting safety for Georgia is out. A second one is questionable.
Mm-hmm.
So there are other 2 starting safeties. They may or may not have one banged up guy, and one's definitely out. A defensive tackle is questionable. Another defensive tackle is out for the year with a torn ACL. So Georgia's beat up coming into this game. They have some injuries. They have definitely been through it this year. So I'm not sure defensively how they're going to match up against Florida.
I don't know. If Georgia has anything, it's depth. You know, they may not be able to produce it or put it on the field, but they do have depth at just about every position because, like I said, they've recruited well for years now.
No, I hear you, but the problem is, so they got beat up obviously defensively against Alabama. Alabama kind of exposed them. Their defense played really well. Well, this past week they had a week off. Their bounce back game against Kentucky, who is not a good team this year. They have not played well. They won 14-3. So their defense played pretty well, but their offense scored 2 touchdowns. I have a lot of questions about their offense, their quarterback, who's passing the ball, who are they throwing it to?
Yeah.
I don't think Florida has to be the best defense in the SEC to beat Georgia. I think they have to be middle of the pack.
Yeah.
Basically what they did against Missouri, if they do that again, I think that's good enough to beat this Georgia defense.
I think so. Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of question marks on both sides of the ball. To me, this just shows the separation from 1, 2, and 3 and everybody else. Like that, the fact that, I don't know. But here at the same time, we have to keep in mind that this is not a normal year. Right. Which I've heard about a billion times. And so just because a team has lost 1 or 2 games, if it was any other year, they would still be like 6-2 at this point and ranked in the top 25. It's like the AP poll, the pollsters don't understand that, you know, if they see a team that's 3-2, they're dropping them out of the top 25 saying that they're no good. But it's really just they're beating up on each other. The conferences are just beating up on each other. So it's not a normal year. And you don't have that cross out of conference games. And so you don't really get to see who these teams are until they play teams like Florida, until they play teams like Ohio State playing Penn State last year. You see what they put on the field. But, you know, Penn State's 0-2. We don't know what Penn State is at this point. So it's hard to say.
Well, and obviously we talked about this before, not getting a lot of spring football or any spring football, not getting a lot of practice time in before the season started.
Right.
You know, this is not a typical year. This is not a typical team. And really what it comes down to is who has the most depth and who is the best coached and who has the least amount of positive cases. Right. That's really the combination of those 3 things. Yep.
And so it may play to Florida's benefit to take those 2 weeks off to study film and to shore up some things if they could, you know, to the limited ability that they had. But if they could, you know, look at the film and say, yeah, you're missing a step here, or, you know, just to understand where their faults are, where their the good stuff. I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but
yeah. Well, and I expect there to be a different level of depth on the defense this weekend, especially in the secondary, with the way these guys stepped up and played, these young guys. how well they played. I think it's going to really change the positioning around for the secondary. And, I think it's going to be ultimately, I think, to the benefit of Florida. As long as they don't have any more situations where they have to shut down, they can just continue this momentum and play out the rest of the season without losing any games. I think that's exactly the best situation they could have had.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of COVID, something real happened at the Ohio State game that really grinded my gears with COVID. I don't know, made me pretty salty, pretty upset. So we had a player, Justin Hilliard, who tested positive for COVID before the game. But then he got his PCR test back, and it showed that his first positive was a false positive, and he was good to go. But because of the Big Ten rules, he still had to sit out for the game. He wasn't able to play. He could literally stand on the sidelines with the team, but wasn't able to go on the field because his first test was positive. How much sense does that make?
No, it's the worst year ever.
It's just like, what are we doing here? Like, it's every little thing that the Big Ten could screw up, they did. They screwed it up. Now we have Wisconsin, who to get in the Big Ten Conference Championship game, which it looked like Wisconsin was going to be there for sure. If Wisconsin misses one more game, they're out. They don't qualify. You have to play in at least 6 games to qualify for the Big Ten Conference Championship. And so they're out. Maybe one of the best teams. It's just – and then, they're out against Purdue this week. And then Nebraska said, hey, okay, like they're not available, but we're going to pay I forget who it was, but we're going to pay them $200,000. They want to play. We want to play. They're going to follow the Big Ten testing and all of this. Let's do it. And the Big Ten said, no, you can't play that game. It's like they want this to fail, and all, like, in every conceivable way that they could have any redemptive qualities, they're failing miserably. And I hope that some of these aren't set in stone. I hope that, we can start getting fans in there, or at least the band, I always forget about, like, the band. Like, they've worked their whole lives for their senior year to march on the field, just like the players did. And for them to not be able to do that is just, it's heartbreaking, man. It, like, really is. Yeah. Like, I hate to see it.
Well, am I mistaken, or is the Big Ten the only major conference that's not letting the band into the games?
I think the Pac-10 is like that as well.
Pac-12, I don't count
12. That. Yeah, I keep saying 10. Pac-12. I'm sorry. Yeah, the Pac-12. I don't think they allow anyone else.
Well, I wouldn't even know they haven't played yet. So.
Right. Yeah, this is their week, though, and they already have a game canceled because of COVID.
Yeah, I saw, like, California.
Yeah, California's tested positive like crazy. So now we have even less teams in the Pac-12. I almost said 10 again. Pac-12 playing. But, yeah, so that's my rant.
That's all right. Well, speaking of Ohio State, what did you see from this weekend?
Oh, man, it was never in doubt. Franklin went for it on like a 4th and 4 or something like that on his own side of the ball. We scored on our first drive. They didn't get that first down, so we scored on our second drive. And really, it was never in doubt. We never trailed in the entire game. In the second half, our DBs looked really bad. Even Sean Wade, he had rough moments. So I don't know. I think that's going to get cleared up. I just have faith that by the end of the season, I think our defensive backs are going to be one of the strong points of the team. But so I don't worry about that. I think our defensive line, our linebackers, cleared up any questions that anyone would have had about them. They were flying to the football. Our offense, I don't know how you stop it. Our run game still isn't impressive, but they're going to pick it up too. I was not high on Master Teague, but I think next year, like, this is the year leading up to the year where Master Teague's going to be dominant. Like, I think next year Teague is going to be one of the leaders of this team, one of the only players on offense with any real experience, except, Garrett Wilson will come back, but everyone else is really going to be gone. A couple linemen will be there, but, man, it's just going to be a stripped, clean offense. So the defense next year. But anyway, that's next year's conversation. But they looked really good. And now the challenge is going to be, how do we keep this motivation going with the stretch of games that we have in the next 5 weeks?
Yeah, well, were you a little bit nervous at all at the beginning of the fourth quarter when Penn State scored a touchdown? They missed a 2-point conversion, but got within 2 possessions with a whole quarter to go. Were you a little nervous at that point, or did you still feel like
no? Because they can't stop our offense. Like, they could score on defense, but our offense scored on almost every drive. We had to punt 3 times, I think, the entire game. So at no point during the game did I think that we were going to lose. At no point. Just had that. You just have, when you have the weapons on the outside that we have, for two consecutive games, we've had 2 100-yard receivers, the same two guys, Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. We just have 2 just really great wide receivers and a quarterback who just puts the ball right on the money. It's like he anticipates twice now, and one time in each game, Justin Fields has thrown a strike to a player who's sitting on the ground, who has fallen over, and they still catch the ball. He just puts it right where it's like he anticipates them falling or something, and he just puts it right on the money. So he's just such an impressive player. I'm in awe every time I watch him play. He's just so smooth. He gets in a rhythm, man, and he's hard to stop.
What do you think this game does as far as, beginning of the season? These are 2 teams who are expected to compete for the conference. How does this make the rest of the Big Ten look? Other than the number 1 in the Big Ten East, Indiana, the number 1 in the Big Ten East, Indiana, number 2, Ohio State. Everyone else has losses in the East. How does this affect the conference?
Well, I think early on it doesn't look good, but I think we got to let it play out because I don't think Penn State will lose another game. I still think they're the second best team in the East. But it's creating it to where the Big Ten is kind of becoming the ACC, where it's Ohio State and everybody else. We are just getting that much further away from everybody else year in and year out. We're continuously recruiting better than everybody else. We're better coached. Our budget's higher. We're pulling away from the rest of the conference, like Clemson is in the ACC. No doubt about that.
Well, all I know is this is leading up to a really big game in 2 weeks where Indiana again, 3 weeks, Indiana against Ohio State now becomes the game of the season, because right now Indiana's ahead of Ohio State in the rankings. Or in the Big Ten standings. They are number 1 in the Big Ten East right now over Ohio State. So that matchup becomes bigger. If Indiana keeps winning, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
I'm trying to help you out, man. I'm trying to give you something with your conference to make it sound interesting.
No, it is interesting. I think this game, Michigan, Indiana, is one of the biggest games of the Big Ten this year. I think – and this is usually – so here's my mindset. I've had to change it right now this year. Usually I root for Michigan to win every game except when they play Ohio State, because I like the idea of that the rivalry game carrying more weight than everything else. And I think it stings a little bit more when you're actually playing for something big and then your rival takes it away. And so I'm always rooting for that. But this year I am rooting for Indiana in this game because of what we just talked about, the perception of it would look really good if Indiana was undefeated when we played them and they were ranked in the top 10.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of hype in the Big Ten. I think if Ohio State loses the game, they're out. That's how bad the Big Ten's looking so far. Yeah, and I guess it really doesn't matter. If they win them all, they're in. If they lose one, they're out. So really perception doesn't really matter. You're right about that. But I'm still rooting for Indiana this weekend. No, I mean, I get it. It still makes it more interesting. It definitely makes it more interesting that way versus if Michigan wins and you wait the last game of the season for a team that's lost to Michigan State. It's not nearly as exciting. Right. So, yeah, look, I hope that Indiana wins. But this week coming up, Rutgers, Greg Schiano back in the shoe. Not a whole lot of story going on here, but still fun to have him back. I mean, if you look at Rutgers, they're playing harder. They're playing better than they have in the past. I think Greg Schiano is going to do really, really good things. He's got some transfers that have come in there. Brendan White from Ohio State kind of went with him when he went to Rutgers. So he's getting some really good transfers in, and I think they're going to be a good team. And not this year, but next year. Maybe down the line. Yeah. It'd be interesting. Yeah. So other interesting things going on around the league. You have, like we've already mentioned, there are good games this week. What's the one non-Power 5 game? There's one that's really big this week. Who's playing? Who am I missing here? We didn't put them in our picks, but BYU, Boise State. Yeah. You said before the show that's important to you. Why is that important to you in our Well, it's not so much important to me as I just don't like when these non-Power 5 teams get this walk-in schedule where they don't play anybody good. BYU actually plays Boise State. They're both ranked. I guess they're whatever. Like
That's because
so
they're COVID ranked.
exactly.
These teams who aren't playing anybody, they don't have to play outside of conference, so they don't have to play the Floridas and Ohio States, who would just beat them by 50.
No, BYU's had a very easy schedule. They have
goofy.
if they beat Boise State, BYU then plays North Alabama and they play San Diego State. So it's a joke, and they're ranked 9th right now. So I just want them to lose because they're ranked 9th. I'm like, you don't deserve to be ranked in the top 25.
What about
period.
Cincinnati?
Cincinnati's same kind of situation, but they don't play anybody ranked. They don't even play anybody ranked.
Cincinnati did.
No, I'm saying now. The rest of the season, they don't play anybody ranked.
No, but they have.
So at that point, I'm cheering for anybody to lose, anybody in this level. I want Cincinnati to lose as well. But Cincinnati, they lost to a team they beat a team who was also in their conference ranked. I don't really count. I don't get that much credit.
I hear you. Memphis and UCF have been, I don't want to say historically good, but they've been well put together teams for the past 3 to 5 years.
Cincinnati didn't play UCF.
They didn't?
Yeah, they played USF.
USF. Oh, why did I think they played UCF? I'm sorry, folks.
They play them in a few weeks.
Idiot. I'm a dummy. They do play them in a few weeks?
Yeah, it's coming up.
All right, well, scratch it. I'll scratch that. Cut it in a few weeks. I'm just kidding. I won't do that. But no. But I'm giving Cincinnati credit because not only are they beating these teams, they're embarrassing them. They're embarrassing them the way an Ohio State or Florida would embarrass them. So I like to give them their credit for that.
Yeah, I'm not there yet. We'll see. Give me a few more weeks. We'll see.
All right. We also have Clemson Notre Dame, a big ACC clash. Clemson is obviously the favorite. The spread's only 5 points. What would the spread be if Trevor was playing this week?
If Trevor Lawrence was playing on Saturday, I would say it'd be 14 or 15.
Okay.
So I think that he makes a huge difference. But I've changed my perspective, I think, on this. So I've had the last week and a half to really consider my thoughts on this. And I think the easy answer is to be like, it's poor Clemson. They have their best player. He's out. I've got to change a little bit. Now I'm at the point of I think my perspective right now is, you know what? We knew this is a weird year.
Yeah.
We knew coming into this year that everybody had the same risk. Everybody had the same playing field as far as less practice, less opportunities. The teams who had more depth had the advantage, and we all had the same roll of the dice for COVID. And now I'm like, you know what? Suck it up, Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you can't win without Trevor Lawrence, then
you're not the best team. You're not.
They may still have been with him, but you knew the risk.
Yeah.
It's the best team right now. That's what matters. The best team right now is who deserves to win. So if you can't win without him, then sorry, there's no guarantee he'll be ready for the championship game either. You know, at this point, it's the same kind of situation where you have to be able to win without any player on your team right now. The same as if he got injured. You know, if he gets injured, you don't feel sorry for him and say, well, they lost because he was injured, so we're going to put Clemson in the championship game anyway. No, sorry, he's injured. You play with what you have. So that's where I'm at this year.
So are you rooting for Clemson this week? How do you feel? Do you want Clemson to win?
I want them to beat Notre Dame regardless.
Okay. All right.
But I'm just saying I don't give them any sympathy because they don't have their best player on the field.
Yeah. They have to beat Notre Dame. They have to. And here's why. Because my nightmare scenario is 2 ACC teams in the Final Four. And if Notre Dame wins this game without Trevor Lawrence, and then Clemson comes and beats Notre Dame in the conference championship game with Trevor Lawrence, they're both in. There's not going to be a doubt about it. They both will be in the Final Four, and that's the nightmare scenario. We don't want.
I hear you, but I also agree with what you're saying. I do think it's a real possibility.
Yeah,
it's a real possibility. That may be the exact situation we are in at the end of the season.
Yeah, can't happen.
I don't like that. No,
can't happen. And so I don't like to root for Clemson. I'm rooting for him every game this year because I want to play him again. But boy, am I rooting for him this week because I think I like Clemson more than I like Notre Dame. Like, so if I had to choose one of those teams, obviously I want Clemson because I want another crack at them.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. Let's say Alabama runs the table. Okay. Florida runs the table the rest of the way.
Okay.
And Florida beats Alabama in a close championship game. Do we have 2 SEC teams in?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yep. Yep. We'll have
that
2
second war situation.
Yep. Yeah.
Which is worse for you, Notre Dame and Clemson getting in, or Florida and Alabama getting in?
Notre Dame and Clemson. I feel like we know. Okay, so the SEC I think is the best conference. I don't usually like to admit that, but I'm an honest person, and I can be discerning. I guess is a word.
Open-minded.
Open-minded, yeah. And so I SEC is the best conference, and so if there's going to be two teams from one conference getting in, I want it to be them. Ultimately, I want Cincinnati to be that team. It'd be cool to have two Ohio teams in it, and Luke Fickell deserves it. So I want the two Ohio teams, but if there's going to be two from one conference, I think it should be the SEC at this point. Big Ten's out. My initial thought at the beginning of the season is shot when Indiana beat Penn State. So getting two Big Ten teams, I think, is out of the question at this point. But yeah, I'm much.
Speaking of Luke Fickell, can we just jump into this for a second? The rumors going out there about Luke Fickell and his next job
to Michigan.
I've heard a lot of rumors going around. I don't know where it's coming from.
It's not. It's coming.
No chance.
No, zero chance. I give that zero.
Who else is Michigan going to go for though? Who else is Michigan looking at and saying this is our next guy?
I don't know, but I don't think Luke Fickell's taking that job. He signed. I think he's making like $4.5 million with Cincinnati. I mean, I don't know.
Be a little brother though. No, he doesn't want to be that.
He likes, from what I've heard. So I listen to sports radio in Ohio, and they just like hire a ridiculous amount of Ohio State linebackers. Like I think they have 4 of them working for them, who are hosts, and they've played for Luke Fickell. And they said he really likes where he's at right now. Like his kids are in school down there, and so he just really likes it in Cincinnati. So unless Ohio State comes available, I don't think he's leaving. Like I almost think that's the only job he would take at this point. But maybe not. I mean, he's really going to have his pick. Any spot comes available, he's going to have his pick, I think.
Except Texas. That's kind of called, right?
Urban?
I mean, that's a rumor.
I don't know. Urban to I don't know. When I watch Urban on TV these days, he almost seems out of place. Like he doesn't really want to be there anymore. It's like a bunch of young guys like laughing and joking around, and Urban's just sitting up there like, you dummies. Like, he just doesn't.
Why my hair?
Yeah, exactly.
He's out.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he just doesn't feel comfortable. Doesn't seem comfortable. I think he's going to be coaching next year somewhere.
All right. Well, you ready to get these picks going and like give me some more points?
Yeah. Are you up?
No, we're tied. I'm ready.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. We probably have the same picks again. All right. So we got 23 Michigan at 13 Indiana. Indiana is 3.5 point dogs here. So who are you picking, Tim?
I'm taking Michigan. I think Michigan's a win by a touchdown.
Ooh, I got Indiana. There we go. I got Indiana
right there.
Yep. No. Nah. I think Indiana's a good team this year, and they're fired up. So next game, Clemson at Notre Dame. Clemson is a 5-point favorite. Like we said, they should be – typically they'd be probably 14, but here they're 5 with Trevor Lawrence out. Who are you going with here, Tim?
Well, after watching this past weekend, I like Clemson's freshman quarterback. Mm-hmm. He has a rocket for an arm, and I think he had enough game experience last week. I think Clemson wins this game by well over 5, probably 10.
Yeah, I'm with you. I feel good about it too. I'm with Clemson here too. At 8, Florida. At number 5, Georgia. Georgia is a 3.5 point favorite.
I don't know what these guys are smoking, man. I don't know where you get 3.5 points. I don't know why Georgia's favored in this game. They're down a lot of players. They're beat up. Florida is getting healthy. They're getting guys back. I don't know where this ranking is coming from. I really don't. I don't know if it's based on the last few seasons. This is a different Florida team.
Yeah.
And I believe in Trask. I believe in Dan Mullen. I think Florida's going to win this game by 2 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have Florida here as well. I don't know about 2 touchdowns. I think 3.5 sounds about right, honestly. So I think it'll be closer than what you think. But, yeah, give me Florida anyway. So our last game of the week, the biggest game of the week, and by that I mean the biggest spread of the week, Rutgers at the Shoe, the Ohio State University, 38-point favorites for the Buckeyes. Tim, are they going to score more than 38?
So I've gone back and forth about this one. 38 is a lot of points. It's a lot of points. I want to say Greg Schiano is a defensive-minded coach, so he's going to make it a little more narrow. I want to say Ohio State wins by 36 points. So I'm going to take the points and go with Rutgers.
I'm taking OSU to cover that all day. Yeah, it'll be 42-0 after the first quarter, I feel like. I could be wrong.
Well, all I need is for them to put the subs in and just let Rutgers score a couple touchdowns. Right. 36 points.
Yeah. All right. You might get that one, but I'm going to take Ohio State against the spread maybe every game this year.
Understood.
Yeah. So Indiana, Clemson, Florida, Ohio State. Here's what's on the line. Basically $5,000 is what I'm putting on the line this year. So it's really important that I win because Tim and I do these bets every year, and each year the tier goes up. So this is our third year of doing this, and Tim has won the first two. First year was a jersey. Second game was game tickets, which I can't buy him this year because of COVID. And so he's rolling it up and making it a double thing to where I have to go to Florida and buy the ticket for him and myself and go to a Florida game of his choosing. And the reason it's $5,000 is because I live in Ohio, and I'm probably going to end up taking my family to Florida, and we're going to end up going to Disney and getting a hotel and making it a big thing. And so I need to win this because I don't want to go to Florida because Florida's a sweaty, nasty swamp, and I don't even really enjoy being there. So
it's even better when I wear my jersey to the game.
Yeah, the jersey I buy you.
Yeah. Yeah, the jersey you bought me, you can wear to the game, and people will be like, "That's an awesome jersey." And you'll be like, "Yeah, thanks, man, I bought it."
No, I'd like to wear my. I'll probably, if that does happen, I'll end up wearing my Beanie Wells jersey that I've had.
Oh, you gotta wear the Gator jersey.
2002. Yeah.
Does your wife even know? Have you even told her yet that we made this arrangement?
She's listening to the show.
Oh man, this is gonna be the best. It's so awkward. I'm like,
it is. But I'm not going to have to because I'm going to get my new Ohio State jersey, and it'll be great. So that's what's on the line. It's a lot of fun. Whew, fingers crossed here. All right, let's.
You realize I'm going to be up by 3 after this week.
No, you're not. We're tied right now.
Yeah, after this week, I'll be up by 3.
We only have 2 different, don't we?
We have 3.
Nuh-uh. Indiana and Ohio State. We both put Clemson and Florida.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right.
Yeah.
I'll be by 2 after this weekend. My bad.
Nah. Nope. All right. Speaking of being up by 2, I don't know how I'm going to segue that. That doesn't make any sense. Speaking of Ohio State, they're still in my top 6. And I have Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama. Yeah, thanks. Shut it. Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama, my top 3 haven't changed. My actually top 6 hasn't changed. So, Tim, you had a little bit of movement because you had more faith in Oklahoma State than I did. Never once was Oklahoma State in my top 6. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, I put Oklahoma State in there just based on where they were at the season, but obviously they lost, and I'm not surprised they lost. I'm okay with it, whatever, I don't care. What I've actually done is I've really revamped my top 6. I think you'd be surprised. My top 6 has changed dramatically.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, give it to us. Just do the whole rundown, and I'll throw my bottom 3 in there at the end.
Well, my top 3 hasn't changed. Still Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State. Those 3 are
any
still
particular order in that order?
I'm still leaving it in that order right now because Clemson, even though they struggled a little bit the first half last week, the fact they did what they did, they had I think they're playing against a team who was hyped. They were like pumped, ready to go. Like, oh, we got this. Their quarterback's down. They obviously were like overly excited to play in this game, and Clemson was down a little bit, and then they came back and rallied in the second half, didn't allow a point. Like, I have to give Clemson a lot of credit for that.
Yeah,
this is a bigger test this weekend, and I think it's a little bit of a trap game too, where they think Notre Dame's coming up next weekend. Maybe they're a little overhyped coming up for the following weekend. So I'm giving Clemson credit for that. So Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State.
Okay.
My number 4 right now, Florida.
Jeez.
Florida is my number 4 right now. Look at this team, man. After they beat Georgia this weekend, man, they're going to be –
After they beat Georgia, I could see it.
Well,
it's already
done. It's a done deal. They're beating Georgia this weekend. They're my number 4.
You're worse than
Cincinnati is number 5.
Okay. Hey, I like that.
Cincinnati is number 5. My top 6 this time. And then I'm putting Texas A&M at number 6 because they have one loss this year to Alabama, and they're starting to look good, man. This team's getting better.
What about where's Notre Dame?
Notre Dame's gonna lose to Clemson. I don't know. They're
See,
out.
You're going
They're
ahead
gone.
of it. You're going ahead.
I am. They're done. They're out. Get them out of here.
All right.
These guys out of here.
All right. So I have Cincinnati 4, Notre Dame 5, Florida 6. This is going to change a lot if what we think is going to happen actually does happen. But the games have to be played. This is college football. Anything could happen. Cincinnati, Notre Dame, and Florida round out my top 6. If I were to go to 10, I'd probably put A&M in there somewhere. But after that, man, I don't even know.
I'm just saying, all A&M has done. A&M, since they lost Alabama, they beat Florida, they beat Mississippi State, and they beat Arkansas handily, like pretty decently.
Yeah, and Arkansas, they're not the joke they used to be.
No, but that's what we made fun of Arkansas at the beginning of the season, and they've actually shown they're getting better.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, A&M's still not the best team in the conference, but they're not bad. They're not a bad team.
Tim, you're an SEC homer.
No,
Florida homer.
Who's better? Who's better than A&M? And
I don't know. You could put Wisconsin up there. They've only won one game, but they look really sharp.
And the one game they
really
played,
good in that
great.
one game.
I said the same thing about A&M when they beat Vanderbilt. Not really, though.
You could put Indiana up there, who beat Penn State, who was ranked like number 6 when they played them. There's a
when
lot
they
of,
played them.
Yeah.
If Penn State beat Ohio State, it'd be a different conversation about Indiana.
Yeah.
You agree with that?
Yeah, but I mean, Ohio State did exactly what they needed to do against Penn State, which gives,
I agree, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about the Penn State-Indiana game. If Penn State beats Ohio State, all of a sudden Penn State looks a lot better. Indiana looks a lot better. Oh, Indiana's in my top 6.
Yeah. Nah, I don't know. I think Indiana is in my top 10. I don't know. It's a weird year.
Yeah.
So, Tim, final thoughts. What are you looking forward to the most? What kind of stood out to you the most these past up until this point in college football?
I mean, the big thing is just it's like we said, it's a weird year. Florida, this is supposed to be a year of excitement and anticipation, and we've had some issues, some COVID issues specifically, but I still, you know what? The reality is this has been one of the bright spots of this year. I think you can agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
This is a great distraction. People are like, who cares about college football this year? Like, this is the year we need it the most.
Yeah.
So that's the big thing for me is that, it's say what you want about it not being that big of a deal. This is really one of those things that's bringing people out of their, depression and their issues, getting distracted from the rest of the world going on around them. Let's just enjoy it, man. Just enjoy football.
Yeah. As long as it's here, man. Hopefully we're still playing. In the coming weeks, there's a lot of fear out there that things are going to get locked back down, but I just pray that we can keep this train going and keep the good times rolling, Tim.
Yep.
So that's it. That's all I have, folks. That's all we have this week. It has been a blast. Thank you so much to our sponsors, our listeners, the Press Play Podcast Network, everyone who supports this show. We are so grateful and thankful for all of you, and hope you have a great week. Take care, folks. We'll catch you next time.
Go Gators.